Hey guys, Andrew here with this week's video. I apologize that it's been a while since I posted anything. I've been really busy doing a lot of freelance work, and I've also started teaching a class at Columbus College of Art and Design. I'm teaching a digital media illustration class, so I'm doing like Photoshop, Illustrator, that stuff. While I was teaching this class and working on this project, I kind of came across a subject that I thought would be pretty relevant and would make a good video. So I put together a video on the basics of Adobe Illustrator. I kind of focused on the most used tools in Illustrator that I typically use. Sit back, relax, and I hope you guys learn something from this or pick up a few new tricks and tips along the way. Okay guys, so this is just going to be a quick review of some stuff in Illustrator that I use pretty frequently. To start off, let's go ahead and start off with the shape tool. It's pretty straightforward. It's like the shape tool in Photoshop and InDesign. You draw shapes, you can make ellipses, you can make polygons, you can make rounded rectangles. The shortcut is M. If you want to do ellipse tool, the shortcut is L. You can do a star tool and you can change how many points are in it and all that fun stuff. A polygon, you can do the same thing. I'm going to click the polygon one just to show you guys how that works. You can double click, and when you do that, this little box pops up and you can change how many sides your polygon has. Double click, let's go 8. Cool. That gets you some really easy basic shapes. That's a shape tool. Now I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what you can do. Right now these have outlines and they do actually have a fill, but the fill is white, so I'm going to change the fill to be like this pink color. And then I just turned on the eyedropper tool, which the shortcut for that is the I key, or you can find it, let's see, down here. I've got those, and those are both this like pink salmon color, and now I want to change the outline on it. So I'm going to find my stroke menu over here. It looks like these 3 lines. I can make it go up, down. I can even go into 0.75, 0.5, 0.25. You can get really tiny. So say I want my corners on my polygon to be rounded. I can click this feature right here. It says corner, it says round. So you can see it rounded those corners just a little bit. Let's say I want those to have a flat edge on each corner. I can click that. So now it just made a flat edge on each corner. And then let's say you only want your outline to be on the outside of your shape. So right now you can see this blue highlighted line that goes around my entire shape. That line is the actual shape itself, and then the outline overlaps half into the shape and half outside of the shape. If I go over here, there are these 3 that say align stroke. Right now we have it clicked on here, where it's align stroke to center. We can do align stroke to inside, so put it inside of our shape, or we can put it on the outside. Let's say you want it to have a dotted line. You can do over here and click dashed line. And now when you click it, it automatically comes up with a generic number, and there's 2 different things you can select over here. There's this one, which is preserves exact dash and gap lengths, and then this one aligns dashes to corners and path ends, adjusting lengths to fit. It starts with 12. Let's say I'm gonna change the 12 to 10, and then I'm going to make my gap 5. You can see how it changes the distance in between for the gaps and that kind of thing. You can even make your own pattern, so I can go 10, 5, and then go like 15, and then 5 again. And then I get like a shorter line, a longer line, a shorter line, a shorter line, a longer line. If you want to just draw lines, you want to just use the pen tool, and I'll show you guys shortly how to do like a bunch of shapes with the pen tool, but just for like line work, you just click, make a point. That's your anchor, and then you get another anchor that when you click it, it'll make a line. So I can just make a line, or I can do a curved line. If I want to do a curved line, I click and I hold down my mouse and I pull out my handles, and these handles let you control the curve and get a nice smooth edge. And then if I don't want to connect it to make it a solid shape, which I don't want to do, and I'm actually going to bring it over here, you can hit enter, and now it's just an open-ended line. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my fill, and I'm going to make my stroke not dashed anymore. So now it's just a solid line. I'm going to go back to my 90-degree corners, and if I want my ends of my line to be rounded, I go for round edges on it. Well, let me get rid of these shapes. Now I'm going to show you guys how to do draw shapes with the pen tool. First, I'm going to make this transparent. So I'm going to adjust the transparency of my Hydra layer. I'm going to start by just kind of getting the basic shape of my Hydra. So I'm going to start with this body first. After that, you can see the next point it wants to draw is, it has this curve to it, and I don't really want that curve. So to get rid of that, what you do is you go back to the point where your handles come off of at this anchor, and you hold down Option. And so when you hold down Option, it's going to come up with this little upside down V, and that's going to let you only control this anchor. So I'm going to bring it way down here, and since that's curved, I'm going to bring it there, because then that'll kind of automatically go ahead and curve my line for me. Now if I wanted to just completely get rid of this handle, what I can do is go up here, and you see the pen tool changes and it has that little V next to it. When it changes to that, I can click on the anchor and it gets rid of that handle. So now I have a completely hard edge for that corner. So I'm going to click down here now, and I'm going to make this curve. I'm going to bring in the handle on this one because I still like this curve right here. So I don't want to get rid of that completely. So I'm going to bring this handle in a lot closer. And then I'm going to take it to about back here. That is the pen tool. That is the most important thing you probably need to know about Adobe Illustrator. The next thing is called a clipping mask. A clipping mask, how it works is basically, let's say I have this shape, but I want to draw some circles inside of this shape, but I don't want them to stick out of it up here. I just want them to be inside of it. I'm going to show you guys how to go about doing that. So I'm going to make some generic circles. I'm going to select the big red shape, and I'm going to copy it. So you can hit Command C to do that. You can also find that up here and edit copy, but I just did Command C. After a while, you'll start to get used to the shortcuts, and you'll probably start using them over going up here to the menu. I have that shape selected and I've copied it, and now I'm going to click on my circles because I want to paste a copy of this my red shape on top of my pink circles. So I'm going to hit Command F, which is paste in front. Again, you can find that up here, paste in front, right there, Command F. I'm going to select all of those, but if you guys noticed, I just selected my original drawing. I don't want to select my original drawing, so I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to hit Command 2, which is lock. Now that's locked, and I can't select it. Now I'm going to select all of my shapes I've made. I'm going to right click on it and pull up this little menu, and one of the options is Make Clipping Mask. So if I click that, this is what happens. See, it cuts off. It basically digitally masks out those shapes that you didn't want overlapping or sticking out over the red shape. That is how a clipping mask works, and they're great. You can go back in and I can move these dots around if I want, and it doesn't get rid of any of them. So you can see right there, the entire oval is still there, but it just doesn't show up. So I can move it around, I can change the size of it, and now it's important to note that to do that, I had to click on the shape. Up here you'll see it says Clip Group, so it recognizes that I've clicked on a clipping mask. So if I click there, it doesn't do anything. Now if I double click this, it brings me into the Clip Group. So it kind of pushes everything else away and lets you just focus on this one group of shapes within your clipping mask. Now I'm going to go ahead and use the pen tool, and I'm going to draw a little bit more of my Hydra. Okay, so I've kind of intentionally drawn this badly. So one thing that's nice is after you draw a shape, you can go back and edit it. So you go to the direct selection tool up here. It's the one right underneath the selection tool. The shortcut for it, you'll see right there, comes up, it's the letter A. So if I just click A, it comes up. If I hit V, I go to the regular selection tool. If you click on a point on a shape, you can actually move it. Now watch out, because if you click inside of the shape, you're going to move the entire shape. I'm going to click these points, and I'm going to adjust them to my original drawing. But that should give you an idea on how you can go back in and you can edit your shapes after you draw them. Now let's say I want to add another shape that is this color of like salmon over here. Okay, So I've got my foot shape and I've got my neck shape up here. Right now, those are two separate shapes. And let's say I want to change both of those two shapes color at the same time. I can either select both of them and change it, but if I'm going to keep doing that throughout the process of working on this, it's going to get really annoying because I'm going to have to keep clicking both of them. Why not make them a group or group them together in some fashion? You can group them by clicking on both of them, and if you right click, you'll see group, or you can hit Command G. And by doing that, I've made it so that I can click one of them and both of them are selected. That's one way to do this. Now there's another way that you can kind of link two shapes or even a ton of shapes together, and that is through compound paths. So I'm going to Command Z that, and then I'm going to select both of these. And now to do a compound path, you can right click on it and go to make compound path right there, or you can go up to object and go down to compound path and hit make, or it's Command 8 if you really want to get into it. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say make compound path. So now if I click one of those, it selects both of them. Let's say I want to make this, let's make it a blue color now. Okay, that is how you can kind of link multiple shapes together, and the reason you want to do this is if you're doing a really intricate illustration and you have a ton of shapes, rather than clicking on each individual one or making a group out of them, you can make a compound path. And with a compound path, I'm pretty sure I can actually make a clipping path or clipping mask with that. So I'm going to try that really quickly and see if I'm right. It's now added those to that compound path. Now, let me go back. I'm going to release compound path, and instead I'm going to group them. I'm going to see if I can actually make a clipping mask with grouped layers. I can do that, but it gets rid of my shapes, and it still claims that they're red, so I can't really change the color. That is one reason why you would use a compound path over grouping layers. Now, let me show you the shape builder tool. So let's say I have two shapes that I want to combine together. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the other part of this leg. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to combine these two shapes. You can do that in a couple different ways. The first one is you can use the Pathfinder tool. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take that out of my original compound path because it's not going to let me do it otherwise. And I'm going to paste this front. So now this shape is no longer part of my compound path. And now I'm going to click these two shapes. And so the first way, like I said, is to use the Pathfinder tool. So the Pathfinder is up here. If it's not displaying, you can go to your window tool and you can find Pathfinder. And so it's got these different ones. It says Unite. Then there's the minus front, so you can take away the minus, subtract the front shape from the back shape. You can do intersect. You can do exclude. Then you can do divide, trim, merge, crop, outline, and minus black. So I'm going to actually pick in the shape modes, I'm going to click Unite. And you can see it got rid of that little overlap area. And the other way to do this is by using the Shape Builder tool. So the Shape Builder tool, you can shortcut to it by hitting Shift-M. And you can see it's right here, and that's what it looks like. And it even gives you the shortcut for it. So when I hover over my shapes, you can see this little like dotted pattern. And now what that does is that's showing me where like the shapes that I can combine. So if I click in this shape, the like top part of the leg, and bring it down to the foot, you can see it's spreading that dotted pattern to the shape as I go over it. Now if I let go of my mouse, it'll turn it into one solid shape. Now let's say I want to take away an area. So I want to take away this area right here where they overlap. So instead of just using the Shape Builder tool, you have the Shape Builder tool on, and you're going to hold down Option. And you can see it changes that little plus sign to a minus sign. So it's pretty obvious what it's going to do. It's going to take away. So now it's taken that part away. So that's kind of how you use the Shape Builder tool. Last but not least, I'm going to do a really quick demo on how to create an all-over repeat pattern. If you're familiar with my YouTube channel, I already have a tutorial up on how to do this, but this is just kind of a really, really basic version because the one I did was a more complex scale pattern. So I'm going to create a really simple polka dot pattern. So I've started with just this box. I held down shift as I made it, so it's a perfect square. And now I'm going to make some polka dots. So I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to make a couple circles. So I've got that circle. And now what I'm going to do to create a polka dot pattern, it's really, really simple. So you're going to take your circle and you're going to drag it up here until the center of your circle hits each edge of your square. And now I want to copy this though, and I want to move it to the other corners. So once my circle is selected, I'm going to hold down Option and make sure you're actually hovering over the circle and not inside where there's no fill. So I'm going to hover out here. There's going to be a lot of space in between these polka dots, so I'm going to put a dot actually in the center of this square. First, I'm going to pull up my rulers. So I'm going to go here and hit show rulers, or you can do Command R if you would like. I'm going to put a ruler right in the center there. Let's see how close I am. There we go, right in the center. Now I know exactly where the center of my square is. I'm going to grab one of my circles and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to bring it into the center and I'm going to line it up with that spot. What I'm going to do is, just like we did earlier where we created a clipping mask, I'm going to click on my square shape and I'm going to bring it to the front. So I'm going to hit Command Shift and then the right bracket. Or like I said before, you can right click on it and go to Arrange and go to Bring to Front. I'm also going to copy that square. I'm going to make these polka dots a color before I make a clipping mask of them. Now that I've got my square here and it's in front and I've copied that square, I'm going to select all of my shapes. I'm not going to select my rulers, so I'm going to get rid of that selection. And to do that and not lose my selection of my square and my circles, what you do is you hold down shift as you deselect your rulers. Otherwise it's just going to think I want to select just the ruler. So that's why you have to hold down shift. Now I'm going to right click on all of my shapes as they're selected. I'm going to hit Make Clipping Mask. This is going to be my tile for my repeat pattern. I've got my tile. The goal of a seamless repeat pattern is that I can copy this tile and I can move it up, down, left, right, and it will always line up and it will seamlessly repeat. That is our goal. And it's always a good idea when you're making a repeat pattern to test it up above before you actually get into making it into a swatch. So the reason we want to make it into a swatch is because I want to draw a shape and I want to fill my shape with my pattern. I've got my shape and I've got it in a clipping mask, and remember we copied it before we did this. Now what we need to do is we need to paste that square that we copied behind our clipping mask. That is now behind our clipping mask, and I'm going to get rid of the stroke before I make it into a swatch. This next step is pretty important, so you have to make sure that you select both your clipping mask layer and the copy of the square that you've put behind it. Once I do that, I go up here to swatches, and if you don't see that little symbol up there, you can go to Window and down to Swatches and pull it up. So you can see right now I don't have anything in my swatches. Got this selected, I'm going to click on it and I'm going to drag it up here and this little plus sign appears. And now there's a new swatch. Now that that is a swatch, I can draw a shape and put my swatch inside of it. So I'm going to draw this big circle over here and I'm going to fill it with my pattern. Now just make sure that you actually have your fill selected and not your stroke. So I'm going to hit this, the fill swap and stroke. Or swap, fill, and stroke. And now this is what a pattern swatch will do. That's how you make a basic pattern. You can see that doing this, you can create really easy background patterns and textures. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're new to Illustrator, I hope this taught you some useful tips and tricks and shortcuts along the way. If you're in my class, I hope this is useful for you guys, and please let me know if there's anything else you guys would like me to cover, either in the comments below or shoot me an email or whatever. Don't forget, you guys can follow me on any of my social media channels. Those include Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Behance, Periscope, and Gumroad. On Gumroad, you guys can find my free brush and texture packs. Those contain the brushes and textures that I use in all of my work and some of my client work. So if you're interested in testing those out yourself, please go over there, download those for free. You can go to my website at SchmandrewART.com. That is SchmandrewART.com. On there, you guys can find any of my work. You can also find links to all of the social media sites I just mentioned, and you guys can sign up for my email newsletter all the way down at the bottom of the screen. So if you're interested in that, please go over there, sign up, and yeah, thanks so much, guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.